everyone, and happy Juneteenth to you all. Welcome to the Morning Update Show. I'm your host, Trey Holiday, and as always, y'all know we are reporting right here live from the Chop. Lots to get into today, and I hope you all are learning a little bit about Juneteenth. I got to bring it over to my guy, Big O, who's been covering so much of this amazing stuff. What's up, Omari? Happy Juneteenth, my brother.
Happy Juneteenth to you too. I was just on the Twitter feed. I see that Elon Musk announced that Juneteenth is a holiday for Tesla and SpaceX moving forward.
There we
Also,
go.
the city of Seattle today released a proclamation talking about Juneteenth. Everything. I mean, it's ironic kind of tragedy of a celebration of a situation that the Emancipation Proclamation was actually signed years before.
Yeah.
But when the Union General reached there, Galveston, Texas, right outside of Houston, he was like, you know what? This is no more.
No
You know what I'm saying?
more.
And it's Juneteenth. There's a lot of stuff that's going on today, even right here in the Chop around the city. Different kind of organizations. I even see like the guys in the union, the longshoremen are doing something. There's things in the Central District, things here at the Chop. There's all kinds of stuff online. A guy we met yesterday called Reverend Sekou. He's doing a training right around the corner there for peace and reconciliation. Very active today.
Yeah, very active. A lot of people wanting to get out on this glorious day, and you cannot be mad at this weather today. Oh, seriously, you cannot be mad. So it's a beautiful day to get out, enjoy some sun, and also celebrate blackness. That's what I'm talking about. It doesn't. You don't have to be black just to celebrate blackness.
Right, and I think the thing is though is Juneteenth is also kind of like we play a song at the end of every show, which is "Lift Every Voice and Sing." It's by James Weldon Johnson, and if you really listen to the words of that song, you know what I'm saying. He talks about liberty and freedom and justice, and so like "Lift Every Voice and Sing," although you call it the Black National Anthem, that's the kind of a song that represents what America, the hopefulness of America, and we aspire to be. And I wouldn't want America to think that Juneteenth is a black holiday.
Yes.
Juneteenth as a whole, the idea of it as a whole represents actually a part of our history that it can't be undone. You know what I'm saying? It can't be unwoven. The slave trade and slavery was a part of our history. The Civil War is a part of our history. Emancipation, 100 years of darkness that came out to the civil rights movement into here right now. And so Juneteenth, all of America should kind of look at that as, man, that's part of our linear timeline, or even a chapter in this book that we call the story of America.
I agree with you wholeheartedly. And I also think that what we're experiencing right now in terms of the energy and this movement, a swell of everybody wanting to learn and understand and get into the minds and hearts of those who they maybe didn't understand before. You're seeing a lot of energy happening where folks are getting to learn one another, know their neighbors, know their, constituents in their city, in their zip code, as we're seeing right here in Chop. And what I say about Juneteenth is it's an amazing day for all of us to recognize that that was a day America made a step forward. Let's continue to make steps forward toward liberation.
Yeah, and that's going to be a very interesting discussion here later in the show, because a lot of Juneteenth celebrations are really about inclusion. But right here, actually on the Chop, it's a very segregated situation that's going on over there. But we'll get to that later in the show. But we wanted to give you guys, we got a 4-minute video here that actually tells about the history of Juneteenth. I think it's put together very succinctly. We're gonna go to that video, and then after that, we're gonna go to break. And who's going to be joining me actually is Lena Friedman. She's a writer with the Capitol Hill blog, and she's going to talk about some of the things that's going on up here. And then we got you back on the set right after that.
Right on.
So let's go to this video right here that explains the history around the Juneteenth and the Juneteenth holiday.
Not be aware of this, but America actually has two Independence Days. One celebrates America's freedoms from Britain's rule. Another holiday, Juneteenth, commemorates the day when the Union General came into Texas and gave an order that actually ended slavery. Now, you may be going to yourself like, wait, didn't the Emancipation Proclamation take care of that? And my answer to you is this. You actually thought the Confederate States obeyed the law. Okay, sure. On January 1st, 1863, President Abraham Lincoln declared all slaves held in Confederate states to be freed. But that news never reached the Texas slaves, and there's many theories as to why. Maybe someone literally murdered the messenger that was sent to Texas to inform them. Maybe, in typical Confederate fashion, they withheld them information from the slaves. Some historians believe that since the Civil War wasn't over yet, that the lack of Union Army presence in Texas made it hard for Lincoln's proclamation to be enforced. Nonetheless, it was cotton picking business as usual in Texas despite the proclamation. Some slave owners in neighboring states moved their slaves to Texas because they thought that the Confederate Army would eventually win the war, and when it was over, they could get their property back. So when Union General Gordon Granger rode into Galveston, Texas with Union soldiers behind him, and he saw all of these slaves, he decided to make an announcement on June 19th, 1865. First off, a proclamation was made from the president to free all of these slaves 2.5 years ago. Second off, you are no longer slave owners and slaves, you are employers, and those are your hired workers. Some slaves dipped out of there before Granger could even finish his announcement. Other slaves decided to go and leave the state so that they could repair their families that were torn apart from the slave trade. Others decided to flee up north. And they lived happily ever after, right? No, of course not. By law, they were free men and women. But in reality, they were enslaved by oppression and violence. Black bodies still hung from the branches. Some were even shot for their freedom. But freed men and women wanted to celebrate that they were just that, freed. They created a holiday that was originally called June the 19th, but then it was kind of squeezed together and now it's Juneteenth. When they wanted to celebrate the first annual Juneteenth, segregation laws forbade them from using public spaces. Okay, that's fine. We'll celebrate near rivers and lakes. They dressed in the fanciest clothes so they can combat laws that required them to wear raggedy clothing. They ate barbecues, sung spirituals, preached religious sermons. Strawberry soda was the drink of choice, and they also ate a lot of red fruits and desserts like strawberry pie and red velvet cake to commemorate the blood that was spilt during slavery. These rituals still occur in today's Juneteenth celebrations, whether it be parades, cookouts, or 5-day festivals. And since whites didn't want to share their own spaces with blacks decided that they would raise their own funds for their own celebration sites, such as Emancipation Park in Houston, Texas. So as the former Texas slaves decided to migrate across the country, so did the importance of Juneteenth, which is also known as Emancipation Day or Freedom Day. In 1980, Texas was the first state to declare Juneteenth a state holiday when state offices are not closed but partially staffed. So far, 45 states have recognized the historical significance of Juneteenth. Guess what? Alabama wasn't last this time. Alabama was the 40th state to do so, but it didn't get the same paid state holiday status as Confederate Memorial Day or Robert E. Lee Day. There's also a national campaign to make Juneteenth a federal holiday. Whitewash textbooks didn't, and still don't, mention Juneteenth. Because of that, a lot of people are still finding out about Juneteenth. So whether you found out about Juneteenth decades ago, a few weeks ago, or even just now, don't worry. There'll be plenty of cookouts, parades, and festivals to celebrate the resiliency of the Black community. I'm Star Dunnigan with Reckon.
All right, welcome back to the Morning Update Show. The video right there we wanted to show you found online, and their website is right there in the beginning of the video. It's al.com /reckon is that video, and I'll actually put it in the comments when we get done here as well. But just wanted to give somebody, a kind of a upbeat kind of look as the history around Juneteenth. Not too long, 4 minutes long, things like that. Back here on the set now, I've got Lena Friedman, who's a writer with the Capitol Hill blog. That's capitolhillseattle.com, right?
Yes.
All right, welcome.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, it's good to have you here on the Morning Update Show and coming back in here to the chop, right?
Yes. Yeah. So I wrote an article basically about the ongoing concerns of permanent residents who live in some of the apartment buildings around this area.
Right. And I thought that it was important for you to come on here. I know that it's gotten a lot of coverage, but, the Capitol Hill blog actually represents Capitol Hill. There's the majority. I know you guys write a lot about the Central District and some other things in the city, but you've kind of built your beat right here on the Hill. What are some of the things that the actual permanent residents who live in the buildings are saying? Are they supportive of the chop or against the chop or undecided or just have demands or what?
Yeah, so I think first it's important for me to say that from who I've talked to and what I've read, everyone is really supportive of protesting against police brutality and in support of the Black Lives Matter movement. But there is kind of this growing rift between some of the occupation here and the demonstrators and kind of the protesting that's been happening since the end of May. And so I spoke with a resident from the Packard building right on 12th and Pine who kind of
That's right across the street from the East Precinct for people who might
yes,
not know.
right across, and who kind of grouped the concerns into two categories. One being permanent residents just not having the choice to kind of opt in and opt out of what's going on since it's constantly happening right outside their doors. And then the other concerns had to do with security, whether that is medical services not being able to access the area or things that have happened, particularly later in the night or early in the morning, like the attempted arson over the weekend in front of the East Precinct. So those are kind of the concerns.
Right. Now, I know over there on the other side of the block, also right across from the East Precinct, 12th Avenue Arts, there was about 40 plus residents who put out a letter, and 90% of that letter was supportive of CHOP. 90% of that letter, they talked about their grievances with SPD, about tear gas and flashbangs. They even said the dog might have PTSD after that. However, they also listed some of the same two things, but they said that they have an issue with noise. They said at first the police kept them up at night, but now the occupiers are keeping them up at night as well. Have you heard any in your reporting or in conversation, permanent residents here having an issue with noise?
Yeah, so I think that's also really important that the residents have made clear is that what's going on right now is much better in their perspectives than when the police were here, when the standoff was going, and all those crowd control tactics were being used. So they are saying they feel safer now, and they're basically another big concern that I've heard is just amplified noise sort of being centered around the East Precinct. And the resident I spoke with at the Packard building has said that things have gotten a little better with that as some of the noise and action has migrated west towards Cal Anderson, but there is still ongoing noise issues.
Well, but I mean, it's almost like if noise is a problem and it's moving from 12th and Pine to 11th and Pine, then now you're impacting the people. Not sure what the building is right there just west of Cal Anderson, but that's a residential that's there as well.
Yeah, and then there's the apartment building here, and so I don't think the migration would necessarily be a solution since there really are apartment buildings all along this area.
Right. Have you seen a sense of cooperation between the occupiers? I don't know. It's the best word I can come around. It was protesters, it was occupiers, the occupiers, and people in the neighborhood. I'm working on a blog post later on today. It's kind of echoing a lot of what you're saying. Is that the neighborhood in itself has given a lot. You know what I'm saying? I mean, one, it's like a lot of these guys actually joined the protest. A lot of people who are indifferent got gas in their building. Kids inhaled gas, and they were out here the next day like, man, this has to stop. Then you have business owners who actually fed the supply lines.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? There's a lot of business owners when the barricade was here. Then you also have hey, what's up, Uncle? That's John T. Williams, people. How are you, Uncle? God bless you. How are you, Uncle? No, it's okay. That's our guy. So what we're saying is that there's a lot of people who when they're looking at these things here, it's a lot of people in the neighborhood who actually feel like they sacrificed.
Yeah.
And when we talk to some of the organizers, protest organizers, some of them have shown no mercy. You know what I'm saying? And I mean, a lot of these guys, either in one, they might have been protesters. Two, they might have been a business owner that fed that supply line and fed that mutual aid that we talk about. Three, they just might have been somebody that filed 12,000 complaints, came in over that weekend. You know what I'm saying? They might have been somebody who filed a complaint. Four, they might have been somebody who backed this historic legislation that just passed with the banning of tear gas and all those kind of things. And I think that for the organizers to feel that the people who live in the neighborhood don't have a valid voice, I'm not saying that all organizers feel that way, but we've even seen on other newscasts when they've interviewed some organizers they've shown little indifference
Mhm.
for some of the residents.
Yeah, and I think that is a problem. And again, what I've really heard from both the businesses that I've interviewed, and the residents is just, really calling on the city officials, the mayor, and the city council to address a lot of these issues. SDOT came in and cleared a little bit of access for the Packard building, but there's still ongoing issues with safety and access and everything
So
like that.
how do the residents, or did you talk to any residents about how they feel about the new barricade and the design there? What are they feeling?
Yeah, well, the Packard resident appreciates that they can now reach their driveway because half of that area isn't blockaded any longer. But I think that there is a growing concern about tents popping up in the area, and just residents not really knowing who they can go and talk to if, say, a tent is put up in front of their garage.
They don't know who to talk to, right?
Yeah.
I saw one resident 12th Avenue Arch yesterday, man. He was out there clearing stuff himself. He said that he's just
Right.
tired.
And I mean, some have talked to kind of the security guards manning the barriers of this, of the occupation, but I think that people really don't know who they can talk to if the city isn't going to directly respond. And that's really what the Packard residents want, is for the city to directly respond and let them know what's happening and what they're planning to do.
All right, Lena Friedman, tell people how they can reach your the website where all your work and all the other writers at Capitol Hill blog.
Yeah, you can go to capitolhillseattle.com and find me on Twitter posting about what's happening at Lena S. Friedman.
All right, Lena Friedman from the Capitol Hill blog. Thank you for joining us this morning.
Yeah, thank you so much.
All right, we're going to take a short break right now. When we come back, we got Trey Lamont from the Jerk Shack. You're watching the Morning Update Show.
I'm a young black man doing all that I can to stand. Oh, but when I look around and I see what's being done to my kind, every day I'm being hunted as prey. My people don't want no trouble. We've had enough struggle. I just wanna live. God protect me. I just wanna live. I just wanna live.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Morning Update Show. My name's Omari Salisbury, and I'm joined right now by this guy. This guy has so many talents. We're only going to talk about one or two today. But if you're from the Central District of Seattle, went to Garfield High School, then you know Mr. Trae Lamont, who, amongst other things, what we're talking about today, he is the chef and owner of the Jerk Shack.
How you doing, man? Thank you for having me.
Man, I'm doing good. I'm doing good. How are you?
Oh, man, it's a beautiful Juneteenth, morning.
It is. Happy Juneteenth to
Happy
you.
Juneteenth.
Man, I heard you brought some Juneteenth food too.
We brought some delicious food. Got some jerk chicken for you, some coconut milk, rice and peas, and some sweet plantains for you.
Okay, fantastic. So we saw it was an article in the Seattle Times. Maybe Daryl could put that up on the screen. And tell us what's going on. You're trying to raise some money to open a spot in the Central District, which traditionally sounds kind of like backwards because you have a restaurant in Belltown. And back in the day, Belltown was way more expensive than the Central District.
I think it's still expensive.
Oh, okay.
But
especially during COVID, right?
Man, most definitely. It's not just in the Central District. I'm trying to open up a restaurant. I'm trying to open up a restaurant in the communities that need a jerk shack. And
why would a community need a jerk shack? Is it just because you want to serve that community, or how does the community benefit from a jerk shack?
The community would benefit from the jerk shack by being employed with a living wage from the jerk shack, having health care from the jerk shack, having full benefits from the jerk shack, having child care provided, resources from the jerk shack, and having college funds provided from the jerk shack.
All right. So it sounds like you want to really be able to make a difference.
Yeah, I think that those are the ways that I can make a difference. I'm a chef, I'm a restaurateur, but there are other kids that look like me, male and female, non-binary, that want to become chefs and restaurateurs as well. But also, if that's not what you want to do in the long run, you can still work at a jerk shack like you would work at a Dick's or a Taco Time or a McDonald's and stuff like that, and have your college tuition partially paid for with the new Jerk Shack Express model that we're trying to build.
Right. And now, what caused you to want to go the? I think it was a GoFundMe, right?
GoFundMe is,
Why did you go that route?
well, we're going that route because it's basically for the community to invest in themselves. It's an option for our community to donate so that we can purchase land to build on in that community so no one can ever take it away from us.
And I mean, it's the direct action from the community as well, because it's the community funding your efforts.
Yes, correct.
How much money are you trying to raise?
$700,000 to purchase the land space, and whatever is left over from that purchase will be used to purchase the building materials and so forth.
Okay. And do you already have a location in mind?
No, not a specific location, just area. So we are trying to build in the Central District or the South End. Right now, it's looking like the most optimal spaces are available. The ones that are available are in the South End at the moment.
Okay.
South Seattle, kind of the Renton, Skyway area or Rainier Beach area, Columbia City area. That's what's looking most viable. But I'm from the CD, so anywhere where our people come from, anywhere where our people come from, and where we're trying to stay, I'm trying to be at.
Right. So I think Treyana was heading down there to the kitchen area, and I think that we might have some. I think we might have some food down there. So we'll give Treyana a second to head down there to where the food is at, so we can show everybody what you brought. And while we do that, though, I heard that Governor Jay Inslee earlier today approved King County for Phase 2. As a restaurateur, how will that now impact you?
Well, for Phase 2, that allows us to have about 50% capacity, but really that doesn't help most restaurants that still like it. It's all dependent on
your
real
dining
estate.
room isn't that big, though, to be honest with you.
Exactly. If your dining room isn't huge, ours is actually bigger than a lot other places.
I wasn't dissing, bro.
But no. But if your dining room isn't that huge, you still have to have the distance per seats, right? So you have to have the 6 feet, right? So in a dining room my size, we can hold 60 people. But with the seats spaced out the way that they are, 6 feet apart, we can only hold 25.
Wow. So yeah, I mean that 50% is still 50%,
right?
Or less,
or less actually. Excuse me, that's 25 seats, including my inside and outside patio. So just on the inside, which can hold 60, we can hold about 15 seats.
Right. All right. Do you guys have that shot back there? You guys have that shot. So we wanted to show some food out there, but I mean, showing your food against this street art over here might not be the best background. So we have a kitchen down there. Do you have that shot up, Daryl? Okay, fantastic. So what are we looking at?
Well, right now,
outside of Trey Holiday, what else? What are we looking at?
Right now, what I brought to you was a jerk chicken bowl, which I want to feed you guys some food and get you guys' mouth watering. It's just some jerk chicken with our coconut milk, rice and peas, and our sweet plantains, with a little bit of our verde sauce on there, which is garlic, cilantro, lime sauce on that chicken to give a little different flavor, and with our garlic aioli drizzled on there so that you have a balance.
Why Caribbean food, man? I mean, because people don't, like I said, when he's Chef Trey Lamont, because a lot of people pick up monikers these days. The guy makes beats, now he's a producer. You rap it to your phone, now you're a rapper. I mean, you really are a chef.
Yes.
100%. And you can actually cook a range of things, plus desserts, plus pastries and everything else. Why Caribbean food?
It is our responsibility to know and share our culture. with with our with our people. And on the West Coast here, especially here in Seattle, we don't have a large Caribbean population, but Southern cooking comes from the Caribbean
The
originally,
South South.
the South of the South. So if you want to talk, oh, our food is deep South cooking. No, deep South, deep South cooking is Caribbean because the Caribbean is southern of Louisiana, Texas, and Florida, right?
Right.
And the slave trade had touchdowns in the Caribbean way before they hit the U.S.
Yeah, people don't realize the early explorers, whatchamacallit, didn't even reach North America.
No, they didn't.
Columbus, he was down in the Caribbean.
Yeah, in the Caribbean and Haiti and Jamaica and stuff. And African slaves brought their skills to the Caribbean and utilized the resources.
So what you're saying is that Caribbean food is the original food of like black people in this northern hemisphere.
Correct. In the Western hemisphere.
Well, yeah, and the northwestern
yes.
part.
Well, no,
yeah.
I'm just saying in
right.
the Western hemisphere.
You're saying all the way across the Western. So what you're saying is I meant to say North America, but I said Northern Hemisphere. Yeah. So North America, all the way down to South America, that's the origination comes from there. So what you're saying is that in other parts, not beyond the Caribbean, but in the Americas, you find a similar menu.
It's the closest thing that you're gonna get to melting pot of true African food and flavors and techniques than any other African American urban food here in the United States.
Right. And so when we first, and we're going to give you an opportunity to do two things, because there might be somebody who's already supported your GoFundMe and they're looking for other things to support that you might do and other people might not. When we scheduled you, that was before I actually saw that you were actually raising money to build some more express locations. So I want to give you an opportunity. It's Juneteenth. That's why we want to bring you on here.
Yeah.
One, can you tell our viewers if they want to support something today, what's a cause that's near and dear to your heart that they can support? And then we'll also talk about what you have going on.
That's a good question. Something that is dear to my heart is people are talking about supporting things like Juneteenth or supporting Black communities, but what a lot of people don't realize is a lot of our youth in the Black community are homeless. So a lot of our homeless youth right down the street of Capitol Hill at the Orion Center, there's a lot of people of color
Orion Center,
that are homeless and hungry. So if you can contribute to our youth, because our future is our youth, and if we can build them up and get them situated and get them a foundation, then our future is going to look a lot brighter.
Fantastic. And it sounds like getting some of these youth stabilized might put them in a pipeline as well to maybe find their way into one of these new Jerk Shack Express locations that you're trying to build. For people that want to support the building plan and your goal to open more locations, especially in the marginalized neighborhoods across Seattle, what's the GoFundMe? How can they find you? And also the Jerk Shack's address or email or web address, long day, for someone who wants to just come down and get some of that good jerk chicken.
Well, the handles on GoFundMe, if you go to GoFundMe's website and you type in Jerk Shack Land Fund, that's how you can contribute to that. Or you can go to our website, jerkshackseattle.com, and you can contact us through there. Or you can go to Instagram, Jerk Shack Seattle, and the link to the GoFundMe is right in the bio. So there's really no excuse if if you know how to Google, you shouldn't have a problem.
All right, and if you get the grumbles,
come and eat.
Then come and eat. Trey Lamont, chef and owner of the Jerk Shack, man. Thank you so much for taking time with us this morning. Go ahead.
I wanted to introduce my chef at the restaurant for the simple fact that he's the one putting in a lot of hours with me. It's just like we've been sweating in the kitchen, getting things ready. Chef Lamar, he has a lot of he has his own entrepreneurial businesses that's going on. I'll let you interview him on another Africa Town. But the thing is, Chef Lamar, do you have any passions that you want to talk about a little bit of how we affect the community?
How we as a Jerk Shack affect the community?
Anyway,
Well, I think the most effect that we have with the community is just through our food and the passions that we do, serving good food and making sure everything goes out delicious and changing people's lives in that way.
representation of us
Yes.
that is on the plate. And
Yes.
when you come to the Jerk Shack and you get our food, that representation is us on the plate.
Yes, exactly.
There it is. And if you haven't seen it before, if you don't want the chef owner dancing all in your video, go to the Jerk Shack.
Come to the Jerk Shack.
We got to get out of here and take a break, man. Thank you so much, chef owner Trey Lamont. Thank you so much, chef, man. And, we might end the show a few minutes early today so we can get to all that good food that you brought us back there.
Man, I hope you get to eat that. It's
Oh,
not going to last that long.
I'm definitely eating that. Somebody gonna get hurt. They steal that. Hey, we're gonna take a short break right now. We come back. We got the very talented and capable and able and some of everything. Trey Holiday joining us. This is the Morning Update Show.
Please.
I'm a young black man doing all that I can to stand. Oh, but when I look around and I see what's being done to my kind, every day I'm being hunted as prey. My people don't want no trouble. We've had enough struggle. I just want to live. God protect me. I just want to live. I just want to live.
Well, I think it's on you. Okay, well.
Oh, all right.
Yeah.
Well, it's on me. What's up? Welcome back to the Morning Update Show. My name is Omari Salisbury. Man, you always bring that black girl magic to the set.
Hey, you got to do that. At
Trey
least.
Holiday in the building.
Thank you so much, Omari. This has been an amazing day already. Shout out to Trey, man, in the Jerk Shack. I'm excited, y'all, because that food was looking good. And if y'all saw my hand movements, I was giving you that Vanna Black, baby. I was giving him that Vanna Black for Juneteenth.
Look at all right. Well, just whoever's back there, they better not eat up all the food. I know that much. They gotta have a problem, man.
Absolutely.
There's a lot of stuff that happened here in the Chop. The Chop got its own news cycle.
Yeah.
Every few hours. We covered the medics live yesterday, and we're gonna put the clip in here, but the clip is very long, and so we're just gonna air it again. And so the full thing is available on our website or the YouTube channel for ConvergeMedia. But it looks like the medics are going ahead and they're filing a complaint with the OPA, the Office of Professional Accountability, because they said that they were targeted with that the police intentionally threw tear gas and flashbangs in there. They did a press conference yesterday. People can, like I said, you can see the whole thing either on the Converge Media Facebook page or Converge Media YouTube page. You're able to see all of what they talked about. But what we do have a clip up here this morning is 2 days ago or the day before is that there was an announcement being made up there right in front of the East Precinct. And initially some of the organizers, they said, hey man, people were thinking about entering the precinct. We thought differently of that. You know what I'm saying? We're gonna go a different approach. But a guy named Michael Murray, who identified himself as a former member of the Black Panther Party here in Seattle. People might not know, but Seattle was actually the second location of the Black Panther Party after Oakland.
Yeah.
And so there's quite a few people, former members that are there, that are around, that are here, and everything else. So, but Michael Murray talked about. He pointed out one thing that kind of everybody has been saying, whether you're media, whether you're in the city, whether you're somebody watching at home, is communication and leadership from the CHOP side is something that, everybody, and even this former Black Panther, is waiting to emerge.
Where's the leadership? Where's the leadership? Everybody, where's the leadership? Where is the centralized leadership? What you guys are doing right now, man, I was doing back in 67, 68, 69, and 69 right in this city. I'm one of the original members of the Sale Black Panther Party, man, and I'm very few of us left around. Right. I've been down here 3 days, coming out seeing what the young folks is going to do, man. And the biggest thing I've talked to a lot of people here and people out north and people out south, and the one knock against what's going on down here, man, is there's no leadership. There's 4 or 5 different pockets of organizations doing their own thing.
Exactly.
You guys aren't going to get anything done. I see what you're saying about that group, man. I think, man, this is turning into a festival.
Right.
This is a carnival, man.
And
I walk down there at the park. They got guys on there sleeping, kissing in their pants, and
Right.
a whole other thing going on down there and stuff like that, man.
exactly.
But from what I understand too, there's some bickering going on between some folks up here.
Yeah,
You
there's
guys
a
got
lot
to
of
get
it.
that handled, man, because if you guys want anything, want your demands met from Dirk and the police chief and Chief Scoggins, and I talked to Chief Scoggins yesterday, and I don't think he's your enemy. He's got a job to do. But the thing is that they got to know who they can meet with. They got to know who they can talk to.
Right.
They got to know that if they're going to meet with you or something like that, then you're speaking for a lot of people. You're not speaking just for your group, and then another group has got to come into the table and stuff
absolutely.
like that. And here's
So-
another.
Right. And so I think a lot of people, whether I mean, this guy is a former Black Panther, grew up in the neighborhood, talked, and the extended actual interview is also there on the ConvergeMedia YouTube page. You can see the extended interview. It's about 12 or 13 minutes and everything else. Whether you agree with the Black Panthers or don't agree with the Black Panthers, whether you agree with the protest occupiers or disagree, one thing that everybody is saying, like Michael Murray said there in the clip, is that a concise leadership and a concise messaging has to emerge out of the CHOP.
I agree wholeheartedly. Oh, I mean, any level of collaboration that these guys want to see is going to have to start taking steps forward in terms of progress and really solidifying what that demand and what that call to action really is. Obviously, they have been able to occupy a space for a long time, and it's been putting pressure on certain, political officials. However, there is a need to solidify it so that they have something firm to stand on and move forward.
Right. And, I mean, on the CHOP side, like I said, they don't have a press office here, and we don't get a daily update from the CHOP. And as the media, a lot of us media guys have told the organizers here that it's like, man, have somebody come out at 9 a.m. every day. Man, this is our daily briefing. This is our whatever. Because, when the protesters and the guys at CHOP are frustrated about misinformation and misreporting on things, they have to also take some accountability that they're not putting out press releases. They're not holding a daily briefing. They're not talking to people maybe on background to give more context and anything else. So they themselves are leaving a lot of space. Like, so the citizen journalists, the live streamers are really the only people where, there's little space for assumption, because we're just always streaming 6, 7, 8 hours a day. But if you got a journalist who's coming in here, either locally from Seattle, lots of national, I did an interview today with a young woman who's in here from Stockholm, Sweden.
Mm-hmm.
The other day it was Turkey. 2 days ago it was guys from Korea. When you have all those guys in there, there's so much gray area. And with these guys, with these protesters, with the occupiers, they're not doing themselves any service by not at least having some kind of information system and setup out here, even if it's just, I don't know, a group text with all the journalists or some kind of group people can join. But, for them to totally point the finger at misreporting 100% on the journalists, a lot of who are just good people trying to do their job, but don't have the access to all the information required to be able to cover everything, and it leaves a lot of gray areas in the reporting.
Absolutely. And I think that, when we talked about it, really from day one, I think you've been saying, well, this is leaderless. It's going to need, in order to move forward, who's emerging. And I think that giving an opportunity for folks to actually just come out, have a briefing. This is why that executive council that they were creating, I thought was still a step in the right direction. And I do believe that, learning from certain areas who have that structure is a great thing for them to do at this time, because I think wholeheartedly the best way to move forward is some type of collectivism throughout the county. That's what I've been saying, because it's not just about the East Precinct. It really isn't. I mean, murders are happening unconstitutionally throughout the county, and we really need to focus on that a little bit. And I wish that some of this energy will start to merge and move forward again on something more firm that
Right.
has some strategy behind it.
And I know the city has their own credible messenger out here that works for them, which is Chief Scoggins, who we've seen out here, and he's been delivering this message and even speaking with the mayor's office yesterday and speaking with guys downtown. They said that they're really waiting for they want to talk.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, and no one can say that they can't put the city in a position to do anything else if they're not ready to come to the table. You know what I'm saying? In a full and open way, and get it out there. I mean, and these are discussions. You know what I'm saying? At this point, there should be nothing private whenever people do meet.
Yeah.
I mean, we love to stream it, but somebody. I mean, it doesn't matter. Everybody get a feed. I mean, people need to sit at the table. But what the city is saying is that they are waiting for this coherent leader or leadership to emerge. And if they're there, I mean, on the flip side, from the protester side, they very well might be like, hey man, these are high stakes. We're getting it together over here. Everybody take a deep breath. We're gonna chill out. And it's when it happens, it happens. But clearly, what I'm saying, that is the thing that people are waiting for. All eyes definitely on CHOP to see who's going to come out here and emerge from the political side. We see lots of different leadership here in operations and in medical, who was out here yesterday, and border security. But I think it's the political side, when you talk about negotiating and things like that, that people are waiting to see who's actually going to be sitting down there at City Hall, or maybe on the lawn here at Cal Anderson, wherever these negotiations take place.
Right. And I think also, too, learning from our history in this country in terms of movements like these will really help everybody here in the CHOP, because what we have seen from historical movements, I think that one of the things that they pointed to, some folks are saying, well, leaders get killed. Well, we've seen that in history, but that's why that council being able to kind of move in a way that really has a multitude of folks who are value aligned, and they really are moving forward in the same regard. I think it always starts with value alignment, right? And if you can have the folks here are getting it together right now, maybe it is going to take some time because they weren't organizing, right? They weren't already doing this work, and they weren't already upset at the East Precinct. This isn't a long drawn out narrative. This is really something that really took place at the Western Barricade. So because it is so new, I think that you're right in terms of taking time to make those assumptions.
Right. If the police let guys peacefully pass that first Sunday when they were turned away, would all these people who are leading this protest still be, you know what I'm saying, out in front? Would it still be these are our demands? Would it still be like whatever? I mean, situations arise, and man, leaders come in and fill a situation. So I'm not knocking anybody or whatever, but I'm just saying that, like, now is really the time. I mean, and when you look at it, that's right. Yeah, lots of leaders of movements have been killed. But you know what? Let's not forget he's a community elder right now. But Larry Gossett was considered a radical. You know what I'm saying? They was shutting down the University of Washington and everything. You know what I'm saying? Huey P. Newton down here. Look at the Dixons. You know what I'm saying? Those guys were leaders of movements that are out here. They're here. Larry Gossett went on, you know what I'm saying, into a political career in his final position there as a King County councilman, who's now, that district is now represented by Gurmai Zahalai, who will tell you that a lot of his path, he followed into the footsteps of Larry Gossett. So I think that people also need to look at Seattle as well as people, you know what I'm saying? If you're a protester, don't let stepping out, because you're afraid to be identified or whatever, be the reason that there's no leadership. And maybe for their side, maybe they need to go talk to people like a Larry Gossett or to the Dixon brothers or whatever it might be. But I don't see this thing moving until strong leadership on the CHOP side emerges. And I don't see, they have a lot of they have a lot of issues, like they said, about reporting or misinformation. They need to take accountability for that.
Yeah.
It's your responsibility to put out your information to the media that you want to have. So, I mean, guys got to take that big finger, like the sensational stuff that's just being made up. I think we all agree that's crap.
Yeah.
And no matter how people land on this issue in this neighborhood and even in Seattle, nobody's for that sensationalized journalism. I think, people digitally altering pictures and just making stuff up, that's not cool. But the gray area here, when guys are saying that the message isn't being received, CHOP needs to take accountability for that. You're not
agree.
putting the message out. And we gave the example out there at Kirkland, that nursing home, where COVID first started. Those family members went out there every day. The family members went out to that nursing home and COVID out there every day. Like, so this many people got to see a family member. This many people didn't. We didn't see that person wash their hands. This person's been whatever. I mean, they push their agenda every single day, and they put their message out. We've yet to see that here out of the CHOP.
And I've been really pondering on this in the last week or so, because I've been wondering, is it that maybe because what brought them out was initially a race issue and it was an issue of equality, and it merged into an issue with the East Precinct. I just wonder if there's a leveling of all of the issues and a balancing that can be done in that regard, because I do think that there's a way to combine them now. Obviously, folks that were down here and literally had that flashbang grenades thrown at them and intentionally being tear gas and rubber bullets. I mean, you really live through it, and a lot of these folks live through that, and I think that brings about a different experience for them. But I also think that remembering what brought them out is what's going to help to balance it. Again, value alignment, I think, is key here. And I think when you talk about, what it's going to take to move forward, real leadership is exactly what it's going to take. Oh, absolutely.
Right. And we're going to take a short break right here, but you just brought up something interesting, because a lot of the same people who were actually out here getting gassed actively, they're protesting. A lot of people got gassed and stuff and heard flashbangs. A lot of people who were targeted by flashbangs, a lot of the medics that are down there, people shot with rubber bullets and everything else. They're not white, so they're not invited into the park today. You see what I'm saying?
They are white, so they're not invited.
They are white.
Yeah, you're right.
I don't get enough sleep.
Yeah, you're right.
But basically, for this particular event right here, so that means that the people who actually fought for the turf are not invited. And that's the position that the CHOP is taking, and I'm assuming that they've taken it as a collective in their General Assembly, but that's just the facts of it, and I'm not making something up. It clearly says, and when we come after break, then I'll read that. But, there's another side of it. I just like to give everybody a voice, because there's another side of people here who feel a bit disheartened this morning when they're reading that. They were like, damn, dog, I was out here every day. We ran from the police. Man, I got shot here by this rubber bullet, that rubber bullet. I brought 10 more people out here with me. You know what I'm saying? Barricade falls. And now, as somebody who's fought for whatever is here, they're not necessarily welcome. Well, they're not welcome into the park until 8 o'clock tonight if they're white. You know what I'm saying? And now the protesters have their reason. I'm talking over my break. Let's take this break right here, Daryl. And we're going to come and actually read the event description for here at the CHOP, but also talk about, man, the bigger picture, because so many other great Juneteenth celebrations that are going on across the city. We'll talk about that as well. You're watching the Morning Update Show.
I'm a young black man doing all that I can to stand. Oh, but when I look around and I see what's being done to my kind, every day I'm being hunted as prey. My people don't want no trouble. We've had enough struggle. I just want to live. God protect me. I just want to live. I just want to live.
Welcome back to the Morning Update Show. I'm your host, Trey Holiday, and we are so excited to bring you some information regarding today's events. Good grief. We're all both sleep deprived, but this is my guy. Oh, what's up? Oh, you were talking earlier before the break about some stuff going on right here in the CHOP.
I mean, what I'm saying is this isn't opinion that I'm putting out here. This is fact.
Yeah.
So, you know what I'm saying? I mean, facts are just the facts. So this particular celebration here today, Juneteenth blackout at CHOP. I'll read this because this is the description. So it's not me, you know what I'm saying, paraphrasing. We are blacking out CHOP. The viral death of black bodies was a catalyst for this current movement, and we need to make sure we remain focused. This means both policy and systemic change to our systems and healing for black people. So that's exactly what we're creating, a series of events in which we center black healing and community. What we need is our non-black allies. What we need from our non-black allies are donations of money and supplies and a willingness to support by quietly protecting the sacred space for black healing. We need allies on the outskirts who are willing to be physical barrier of protection and to peacefully deter potential interruptions. We'll be socially distancing. They're going to have masks. And then throughout the day, there's different events. I saw the yoga this morning. They got a lunch, community art healing, and dance party. And then at 8 p.m., the blackout is over and the park opens back up. And so, you know, as somebody, I mean, and hopefully we can talk to one of the Juneteenth organizers that are over there. And maybe we'll talk to, well, definitely when we walk around today, we'll talk to some of the organizers over there. I think we'll be able to get in. We'll talk to some of the community members as well, because, you know, I mean, our job is really to try to tell as many stories around it as others. I mean, as possible.
Yeah.
And we do find that around this particular situation here, I mean, there are some people who are just really feeling like, damn, you know.
Yeah, I think it's important to bring up both issues. I mean, what the original purpose for them doing this, I understand a little bit about, you know, hey, let's remember what brought us all out here. But I don't think that it requires them to exclude anyone. I think one of the things that I've really witnessed personally here in the CHOP is the collaboration and collectivity of all of us and how beautiful that is. So for me, when I think about moving equality and equity forward, the way to do that is with everyone, right? It can't happen in any one ethnicity. It doesn't happen with any one neighborhood. It happens collectively with all of us. And so that's my take on it. Oh, I do hope that people remember what brought them out. I talk a lot about King County equity now. We see it, you know, on the telephone poles and trees and stuff around here, but that's only because we do need to move it forward. And I do hope that, you know, that folks who are discouraged and feeling that way, you know, just shout out to them, because I do understand that feeling. Oh, I mean, they were on the front line, so I understand both sides here. But I will say, for me, the best thing to do is to really move collectively. That's going to take all of us.
Right. And just to be clear, because we got a lot of new viewers, we're on different platforms today and everything else, is I'm not included when you say the we and us.
Yeah, that's
so because you use the word we and you use the word us, and you know what I'm saying. And this show, believe it or not, it's unfortunate because this show created like a barrier between. This was just a morning news information show that we started during COVID, and when everything went down, we had to draw a clear line, because now, you know what I'm saying, I'm back on my journalism thing, and you're back on your, well, you've always been on the community thing.
Always.
And so I always want to draw a clear line, because we didn't, the community loves the especially the original community that started watching this show. They love this show. They love how we bounce off of each other and everything. But I just want to be clear to everybody that when Triana says we or us, she's not speaking for me or the other journalist on ConvergeMedia and our coverage here. You're speaking as somebody, as a community member.
Yeah, I'll tell you, that's what I mean. I'm talking about the collective we. I'm not talking about Omari and I, Converge, or anyone else. I'm talking about the collective we. Ultimately, the only way that any progress is going to happen in this country in particular is if we collectively push for it, fight for it, encourage our friends who are not aware of it, educate people, spread the message. That's how we do it. We together.
Well, that's one thing I can definitely agree on. So let's talk about some of the other events that are going on. Today we also have at Judkins Park.
Yes.
We have the event that's organized by Not This Time. Can you put that up?
Several folks speaking. They have a great list and a great lineup of folks who will be speaking. Some elected officials will also be there, really focusing on what they have termed the next steps. I love that.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, here it is. I was looking for it. yeah, the next steps in creating a stronger Washington state. And people don't know. I mean, like Andre Taylor, he has a lot of momentum. Definitely underneath him, man. They passed was the I-940, which was like a police reform bill that's out there. And so that's from 1 o'clock to 4 o'clock today. It looks like it's at Junkins Park and Playfield. And it looks like they've partnered with the Seattle Foundation and the Group Health Foundation and Lyft
Nice.
for that as well. So that's going on. And then there's the King County Equity Now. They also have
Yeah.
what you're a part of.
Yeah, yeah.
Is they're also having a Juneteenth celebration. Maybe you can tell everybody about that.
Yeah. Daryl, do you have that clip as well? Okay, great. So yes, shout out to the Seattle Times for capturing the movement and the spirit of Juneteenth. I think they did a great job on that article there. But we will be marching from 22nd and Madison, honoring the great D. Charlene Williams, who actually brought Juneteenth to Seattle almost 40 years ago. Her daughter Rita Green will be there to give a message, remembering her mother and her mother's legacy, and also the legacy of Madison. It was so much rich history in terms of Black cultural and thriving that happened down on Madison. And so then the march will continue south on 23rd. We'll be making some educational stops along the way. There's a lot that we want to really educate the community on. And again, for folks who weren't aware of a lot of these situations or a lot of these demands or movements that were happening kind of behind the scenes, now they can be educated, get informed, and join the movement. We will be ending at Jimi Hendrix Park for People's Assembly and full-on celebration, man. I don't know what time we're shutting it down, y'all. You know what I'm saying? We're going to be out there all night. Come out and enjoy yourselves.
You better let Daryl know, because the word is he's supposed to be streaming it, man. I don't know how many hours you might be able to get out of him.
Yeah, he might have to cut. He might have to cut the stream.
And that when you say we on that, that's King County Equity Now.
Yes,
is that
that
Africa Town?
Yeah, that is King County Equity Now, and you can find all of the coalition members and all of the organizations who are a part of that on KingCountyEquityNow.com. And if you haven't already, sign the petition to join the movement. You know, we have amazing volunteers. Shout out to all the volunteers who are helping to amplify this movement and helping to amplify this event today. It's going to be awesome.
Right, and just a piece of history right here. When she talks about Madison Street and the rich history of Madison Street, we have to go back almost 140 years when there was a Black pioneer. His name was William Gross. He was actually a big business owner here in Seattle all the way into the turn of that century, right? And he had hotels and a shipping business downtown. Well, William Gross was here, man, and he was moving and shaking. This was like back in the 1880s. And actually, take one step back. William Gross, who people say is the founder of the Central District, he became friends with the territorial governor, Isaac Stevens. So Isaac Stevens was the territorial governor at the time, and Isaac Stevens had lost his watch. And William Gross found territorial governor Isaac Stevens' watch and held on to him and kept him safe. And so he hooked up. He gives Governor Stevens the watch, and Governor Stevens is like, hey, bro, you might want to come out to Seattle. We got it cracking out here. William Gross comes out to Seattle. Down there in the waterfront, he opens his business, hotels, and this and that and everything else. He bumps into the big-time baron back in the day. You know what I'm saying? They say like it's Jeff Bezos of this era. It was William Boeing of a previous era. Well, back in the day, Henry Yesler was the man. And Yesler Street, it's very steep. They used to call it Skid Row. Why? Seattle had the best timber, man, and California needed wood in a hurry. So all this land up there, you know what I'm saying? They cut down all the trees. Henry Yesler had his whole business going, and they would skid the lumber down Yesler, what's now Yesler Street, down there to the sawmills, was on the waterfront, and then they would ship that wood down to California, down especially to San Francisco and Los Angeles. Was a big boom. So you know what I'm saying? The first big boom here wasn't even aviation. It was timber, right?
Right.
So anyways, William Gross bumps into Henry Yesler. Henry Yesler's like, man, I got more land than I know what to do with. Henry Yesler sold William Gross 12 acres of land right there in what's now the Central District, and the heart of that was Madison Street. And so when we talk about Madison Street and Black people actually in the Central District, it predates Washington being a state. It's an amazing story of how two business guys, two entrepreneurs and business owners, William Gross and Henry Yesler, hooked up. They got this space up there, and that's where the Central District of Seattle begin to grow. On right now is what's called like 23rd and Union and all that and everything else. And again, that's why First AME Church, which is again older than the state of Washington, is only 3 blocks away. So I'm sorry to take you guys down History Channel way, but I mean, like, just like to be able to give people some information about historically about our city.
You know what? I gotta say something right now. You gotta love Reverend Walden's kids, okay? They are educated, y'all. You know your history. Oh, that's what I'm talking about. Shout out to Reverend Walden.
I just tell people, if you went to school in the state of Washington, at least if you're an old guy like me, then you had that green book when you were in the 9th grade, Washington State history. I got an A out that class. I don't know about any other classes, but I did well on that one. We're going to get out of here for today. Just a few programming notes. Daryl and his team are actually covering the People's Assembly out at Jimi Hendrix Park. We also got some streamers that are going to be out there covering the event there at Judkins as well. So we want to be able to give a lot of coverage to Juneteenth celebrations. We give a lot of coverage here to the CHOP, but events that are outside when we talk about voices of the community, excuse me, and everything else, we want to be able to do that. Monday and Tuesday for sure, but maybe Monday, Marcus Green, the publisher of the South Seattle Emerald, he'll be filling in for me. Yeah. So you guys got a much better, younger, good-looking guy who's going to be here on Monday and Tuesday for the morning show. I'll be back on Wednesday for the morning show, but we got a lot of stuff going over the weekend.
Also, Chats with Trey, because of the Juneteenth celebrations, Chats with Trey will not be airing today. We will be in the park having a great time. I'll be at the march.
Still gonna be chatting.
I'll be chatting. I'll be chatting. It just won't be. Yeah. I'll try. I'll try to make sure that happens.
Right. And I mean, one thing that I would say here before we get out of here, I mean, Juneteenth, for one, it's the biggest Juneteenth America has ever seen. And I like to talk to people about like some of the effects of what we're seeing or observing. It's just like there's so many people in America who before all of this were indifferent, didn't know about Juneteenth or anything. But the fact that like we started the show talking about Elon Musk is tweeting like, man, Juneteenth is a holiday now for SpaceX and Tesla. I mean, you have to look. It's when you talk about change and things changing, you can't overlook the small things as well. You see what I'm saying?
Agreed.
I mean, everything, because it's almost like chipping away at something. A lot of things won't just happen overnight, poof, like that. But, we got to acknowledge all these small things. Look how many people are like, wow, Juneteenth, I didn't know, and this and that. But the bigger thing that I would say is that, like, man, let Juneteenth be a day where people across America, you know what I'm saying, can have a better understanding, a better opportunity to listen and things like that. And even no matter where you're at on this issue, Sam Smith, who was the very first Black city councilman here in Seattle, Sam Smith was famous for telling people that he might not agree with. He said, you know what? I don't agree with you, but let's talk about it.
Yes.
And I think that, man, if people out here, you don't have to agree, but let's make an effort to understand.
Agreed.
You don't have to agree with everything, but if we can understand our neighbors, if we can understand their point of views, I mean, that's a great starting place for us to be able to build and live up to, what America, the potential that America has to be.
I love that you said that. Oh, and for me, it always starts with the desire, right? The desire to want to understand, the desire to want to know someone who is other than you, right? Someone who didn't grow up in your surroundings, someone who, you know what I mean, was outside of your circle of influence. That's what it's about. So I love that you lifted that up at the end of the show. All of you out there, make an effort and grab that desire to understand your neighbors.
Man, let's find some understanding out there. You know what I'm saying? And I spend a lot part of my day talking to people who, I might feel differently or think differently or whatever personally, but, being able to understand someone else's point of view is important. And, you know what I'm saying? I'm just so thankful for our viewers. We got a lot of new viewers now because we're across a lot of different platforms and everything. Thankful for you guys for joining us. The morning show is every Monday through Friday from 11 a.m. to 12 p.m. right here. So as usual, we're already standing. What a special day for this.
What a special
I don't have enough time to get back on memory lane here. But when you listen to this song that we end our show with, it's referred to often as the Black National Anthem. Just lift every voice and sing. I Google just the lyrics, and you tell me if this song isn't something. The lyrics of this song doesn't represent, powerfully the dreams and the aspirations of our nation.
Absolutely. Agreed.
We're out of here, everybody. Thanks again for joining in. Please be safe out there. Send the comments. We love them. Talk to you soon.
Happy Juneteenth.
Happy Juneteenth.
Peace.
Every voice and sing till earth in heaven ring with the harmonies of liberty. Let our rejoicing rise as the listening skies. Let it resound loud as the rolling sea. Sing a song full of the faith that the dark past has taught us. Sing a song full of the hope that the present has brought. Facing the rising sun of a new day begun. Let us march on till victory is won. Sing it again now. The victory is won. Victory is won. Victory is won.